Hey, what's up YouTube? Goratha here. So I thought I'd make an update video to my last video I posted about the MF strategy. I've been asked a lot of questions, and there's been a lot of comments that I realized I should probably make another video and just talk about some of the stuff you guys have been asking. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is how I sustain my cemeteries. I got asked this question immediately after I posted my video, and I felt really bad because later I learned people were buying cemeteries for 30C each. And honestly, that made me a little sad because it's actually very easy to sustain cemeteries. Basically, what you do is you put your 4 stones in, right? With your sextants, and then you put the map up. Once the map actually spawns, like the portals pop up, then you take the 3 of the stones out and you have 1 stone left in. This means you'll be dropping T7 cemeteries, and you find like 10 a map. You don't need to buy cemeteries ever. The only time I would recommend buying cemeteries is if you want to buy like an 8 mod plus 2 proj cemetery and you can't be bothered to roll them yourself. Which is the next thing I want to talk about. How do I roll my maps? I generally just put like 100 maps into a stash tab, and I search for proj, and then I just chaos slam them until I hit plus 2 proj. Sometimes I'll vow the maps that are like mediocre, get unID'd maps and run like unID'd sextant. Sometimes I'll just exalt slam them if they have like rare monsters on them. Sometimes I will just vow a bunch of maps and try to get 8 mod maps with plus 2 proj. There's also a sextant that can give you 8 mod map drops, which I sometimes run as well. This is really nice because you'll drop a bunch of cemeteries that have 8 mods, and some of them will be plus 2 proj, and I just run those. Not too complicated. The map rolling is very, very simple. You just look for that 1 mod. I've also been asked a lot of questions about people having less abysses in their map and getting troves. Now, I don't know what's happening with people getting less abysses. This happens to me rarely. I think it might have something to do with the map just not spawning mechanics properly. Maybe like you got a Val side zone, or like maybe an expedition spawned. I'll go over my Alice a bit later. I did actually change my Alice a little bit, and I removed the expedition stuff. I'm no longer running Legion either, and this seems like it's helping a bit. I'm basically just running Strong Moxes and Harbinger now. And this seems like it's helping me get the Abyss Spires. These are the only things that matter, so dropping the other mechanics is kind of whatever. Now, if you're getting a Trove, I really don't know what to say. I think either you have Stream of Consciousness, or you're just not using Gilded or Wing Scarab. Because Gilded and Wing Scarab eliminate the Troves, so you should really never be getting them. So, what else do I want to talk about today? I want to talk about the Wisp strategy, the lead mechanic. This is honestly far more important than anything you add to the map. This is far more important than Scarabs, than your Sextants, than your map quantity, your map pack size. The Wisps for pretty much everything. We're abusing it to the max with Abyss, but these are where you're getting most of your loot. I've heard a lot of people not getting very much loot, and I have a feeling they're just not doing the lead mechanic properly. I didn't really talk about this last time. Generally, I get like 4,000 to 5,000 average on my runs, and sometimes I even hit like 10k. If you are normally getting 2k juice, this is why you're really not getting that much loot. It's kind of insane how it scales. It scales really, really crazily. You get like double the loot from like 2k to 4k, for example. So, in like 10k, for example, you're like pretty high chance of getting like a mirror or something. Like, it's actually crazy how well it scales. Currently, what you're looking for in the lead mechanic is events. So these spawn a lot of monsters, which actually scale with pack size. So pack size is a very important thing that you should go for on your map. And the monsters give Wisp, basically. Now, a lot of people tend to run around in circles or just go in random directions. I would recommend you just go in a straight line. Like, pick a direction to go and run in a straight line. Obviously, you're following the Wisp, so you might have to make a turn somewhere. Just don't run around in circles. Just run in a straight line, go to an event, find an event, do the event, and like run backwards, try to backtrack and find another path to go to, and then run in a straight line again. I would recommend going back to the start if you haven't found an event nearby, because generally an event will spawn pretty close to where you were at, is from what I've noticed. It's also very important to not get baited into taking the random wisps you find in the way. Just look for a path of wisps and then run through them. You can always go back afterwards and loot the wisp on the edges. One thing to keep in mind is there's 2 white orbs that can spawn while you're looking in the darkness. One of them reveals an area around you, and one of them gives you extra time in the darkness. Now, the extra time in the darkness is really, really good. This is where you're gonna get like 10k juice. If you get multiple of these, this is the god tier run. The reveal orbs I found are actually a downside. If you run into a reveal orb, it just reveals a big circle around you, and that's bad because, like I said before, you want to be going in a straight line. Now, the reveal orbs seem to be a bit brighter than the extend orbs, so I'd recommend you try to avoid them if you can. And yeah, that's generally what I do for my league mechanic. And like I said, this is the most important thing, and you should be trying to get as much as possible per map. Basically, I spend a lot of time in here, and I take my time. Take your time, think about where you're walking. You see monsters, maybe you walk up towards the monsters. Monsters are generally nearby events, or like they kind of lead to events. That's something to keep an eye on. I would recommend just getting better at that, and you'll find a lot more loot. Don't worry about how much time you take in the lead mechanic, because let's say you get like 2k juice, your map is going to be a lot worse than if you got 4k juice. If you take double the time to get 4k, it's 100% worth it. Anyways, that's all I want to talk about with the lead mechanic. I will post some footage here, and hopefully you guys can get an idea of what I'm talking about. And the Spires. So I specifically want to talk about the Spires. I see a lot of people in the comments saying they're one-shotting the Spires. Now, this is bad. If you are killing the Spire before it spawns mobs, then obviously the strat is not going to work. So either you need to lower your damage, or take Wellspring of Creation on the Atlas, or just be safer around the Spire. Generally, I will attack the Spire to half. It seems like the Spire will spawn mobs based on its HP. Like, I think it's like 3 waves of mobs, and it starts at like 100%, and then like maybe at 75% it spawns another wave, and like 50% it spawns another wave. So if you're one-shotting the Spire, it is a very big problem, and you should figure that out. The strategy will not work if you're killing it too fast. I'll post some footage of me dealing with the Spire, and I'll show you how I'm doing it exactly. Generally, I will attack it to half, and I'll run away and like do some other lane mechanic, or just loot some items on the ground while it's spawning its monster. And that's generally how I handle it. And the Atlas. So I actually have changed a little bit with the Atlas since last time. I'll post my PUB with the notes and also the Atlas in the description below. But I want to talk about some of the things I changed real quick and just talk about why I changed them. So I dropped the Delirium chance nodes, which I had before. These are actually really good if you aren't putting Delirium on your maps. For example, if you're like don't have that much currency to spare and you don't want to put Sexton on every map, these are really good to have. I would recommend you take these at least. But since I'm putting it on manually, I dropped these nodes here. And I grabbed some Harby chance over here. Harby chance and Ritual chance. And more Beyond stuff. The other thing I changed is I dropped the Expedition stuff. I didn't really feel like Expedition was worth it, so I dropped all the Expedition chance along with the Keystone. And I also just grabbed more Beyond stuff. Beyond Merging Radius. And I also took the Beyond Keystone. So before I was like, yeah, the bosses are really fun. They drop a lot of unique items. But honestly, it got old after a while, and the Keystone's just better, honestly. Like, you get more loot with the Keystone, more monster spawn, more chances for more loot. So I'd recommend just taking that at this point. This is what I'm doing. Yeah, that's pretty much everything changed with the Atlas. If you guys want to take a look at the Atlas, I'll post it in the description below. And yeah, that's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about.